Hey everybody, welcome to Jacob's Quest, and yesterday, actually, I saw the 4th episode of House of the Dragon. I know this review's kind of late, but look, D23 happened. If you've noticed, I put up like 7 videos in the last like 24 hours. It's been a pretty busy time. Anyways, so episode 4, House of the Dragon, obviously full spoilers below. I think for the first time in the series, we do not have a time skip. I believe this is happening the exact same point of time as the last episode. Obviously, it's probably been, several weeks, several days, whatever. But yeah, we have Daemon Targaryen coming back from taking out the crab feeder and all those people. And you would think that, he's coming in and he's gonna be like, oh, I took out the steps, I'm king of the stepstones now, and I'm this and that. But what actually happens is he surrenders whatever this crown is, because they gave him a crown saying you're king of the stepstones, but he's like, no, there's only one true king. And basically he makes his way back into King's Landing. He's welcomed back because he just like, oh, hey, sorry, bro, I took out the stepstones and it's yours now, you're the king. Which, you gotta feel like this is all just part of some bigger scheme, right? Because Daemon's kind of like the schemer guy, so you can't take any of this at face value, right? Like, so his whole thing where he gives up the sword and he's like, add it to the collection, you're the conqueror, you did it. It's like, no, this is all part of some kind of game. Something's happening here. Anyways, so we got some pretty dramatic stuff that happened this episode. Basically, Rihanna's being, I heard someone compare this to Aladdin, but basically the same idea. She's the princess. They want to marry her off to some kind of family to make, political connections. That's how it was done back in the day. Even, I know this is fake, obviously. Anyways, she's being shown all these suitors, and obviously they all kind of suck. Although there was like a funny, there was a funny moment where there's like this 12-year-old kid who, he's one of the family, so everyone's just kind of sending who they can. So I guess this family pretty much only had like this 12-year-old. So they're sending him to be like, hey, I would be a great husband. And everyone kind of laughs, and he gets in a fight with this dude, and the 12-year-old actually murders this guy. So I'm sure that's going to be back. And I know people referencing this is some kind of, this family versus that family have some kind of historical beef, and maybe this was the beginning of that. But I thought that was pretty crazy to see that the kid that was getting laughed at actually ended up being the one who kind of held his own, and that was pretty cool. But yeah, Daemon's come back, and everything seems all happy-dory. And Rihanna's tired of all these suitors, and so she ends up going out, out into the town. She leaves the castle at night. She sees all the commoners kind of, I guess this is what you would call, going downtown and seeing the party life back in the day, which of course there's music, there's festivals happening, people are just having sex just randomly in the middle of a corner somewhere. And so they're just hanging out, and they end up going to a brothel, and then things kind of get a little weird. Basically, it's a niece and an uncle, and they go to this brothel, and they have a moment, and things almost go all the way, I guess. But then they don't. Daemon ends up stopping it and leaving. So now Rihanna's all, they've been drinking, they've been partying. Things happened almost, and then she ends up going back to the castle, and I don't know how else to put this that would be appropriate for YouTube. I guess things got excited for a bit, and then she goes back to the castle, and she sees, I forget the guy's name. He's the Dornish one that she said, oh, he should be the King's Guard guy, right? Like, she got to pick one. It was her personal guard, and they end up hooking up. They end up getting together that night, which is also a big deal because the next night, now there's rumors, because they were seen at the brothel by, if you remember, the spider had, like, they called them little birds, but it's a bunch of, like, kids that the spider would pay to get information and to spy on people, right? Basically the same thing happened here, where it's like, oh, Rihanna was being watched by, just some random kid that was probably being paid for information to the Hand. And so now the Hand finds out that, like, oh, Rihanna and her Uncle Damon were seen leaving a brothel, and more stuff might have happened. And so he kind of brings this to the king and says, like, oh, it's this huge rumor that's going around, but really it's him starting the rumor right here, right now. And yeah, so there's this big kind of confrontation where the king's like, surprisingly, King Viserys sees through a lot of the Hand's bullshit, and he straight up lets him know, is like, you are a schemer, aren't you? Like, you want your own blood, who I guess is now his son, right? He's like, you want your own blood on the throne so badly that you're willing to take down Rhaenyra's reputation by spreading these lies, right? Which I guess it is a lie. They didn't technically get together, but it's still like a partial truth, right? They did go to the brothel, and stuff kind of did sort of happen a little bit. Yeah. Anyways, so Rihanna gets confronted by this news by I don't remember her name. The Hand's daughter, the current queen, the king's new wife. I don't remember her name. I think it starts with an A. Anyways, her old best friend, who is now her stepmom, which, that's a thing that happened. But basically, she gets confronted and she has to deny it, saying like, no, I'm still a maiden, right? Like, she hasn't had sex, basically, because that was, again, that was a big deal back in the day, where it's like, if you have to marry her off for political purposes, what they say, they have to be unsullied, right? Like, just obviously medieval, old school ways of thinking, right? So she of course denies it, which she's not. Her and the Kingsguard guy got it on, right? And so basically, what happens is that the king's all pissed off at Rihanna, right? Because it's like he basically blames her for these rumors starting, saying like, oh, you put yourself in a position where this happened, and the truth doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it actually happened or not. The fact is, people are going to think that it happened, or at least the rumors are going to go out there, and that's enough to damage any kind of political thing that could have happened here, right? Any kind of political marriage maneuvering that could have happened. So what ends up happening is that he says, okay, you have to go marry the sea snake, the other, not Targaryens, but the other Valyrian house people, right? That way it can be like a pure dragon bloodline, because they all came from the dragon land, right? Plus, they're obviously still pissed because the king didn't end up marrying their child, right? The little girl, which obviously another weird situation there, but glad that didn't happen. But now they're kind of trying to like make amends with this, this family, this house, because it's like they are now talking to people on Braavos, and they might make an alliance there, and obviously that's going to be a huge threat because they got a big navy, so it's a big problem. So again, political maneuvering. Rihanna agrees to marry what would it be her cousin, I guess, or not, are they not even related at all? I know it would be her cousin, because her dad's sister, yeah, so it'd be her cousin. She has to go marry her cousin now. Yeah, everyone's related in this damn show. Anyways, so now she agrees to go marry him, but in exchange, she's like, you have to get rid of the Hand, right? Because he's a schemer, he's a manipulator, which, by the way, it's true. He is a schemer. I saw a lot of people on Twitter saying like, oh, she's making this up, but it's like, no, he is a schemer. He plotted to have his daughter like, hey, get real close to the king, try to make sure he gets feelings for you, and now of course they're married, and of course he is trying to get his own I guess his grandson on the throne, right? So like, yeah, the Hand is totally a schemer kind of guy. So luckily the king agrees to do that. The Hand has been fired, and so we're gonna have a new Hand. We're gonna find out who's next for that job, which of course, everyone who gets that job totally ends up fine all the time. And yeah, that's basically where we're left. She agrees to marry her cousin. The Hand has been fired. We're going to see how well that goes over with the queen, right? Because she's going to be like, did you just fire my dad? That's going to be interesting to see. Because she seems very much in her dad's corner, right? Like, comes to his defense a lot. So, I don't know. This is all getting pretty tense. This is all getting pretty dramatic. I have to imagine that next episode we are, I enjoy that we didn't do another time skip. Because every time we do a time skip, it feels like we're doing, obviously not a full reset, but somewhat of a reset. Because we got to be caught up on like, okay, so what's happened for the last several years or months or whatever. So I do appreciate that. Hopefully next episode will still be here. I know they're going to do an actor switch at some point. I think it's like episode 6 or something. So that's going to be interesting. But so yeah, just this series continues to impress. Like we all had so many doubts about like Game of Thrones come back. Would the audience come back? Would this actually be a thing? But I don't know what the numbers are like comparatively to the original Game of Thrones. But I've seen nothing but love for this series. This series is not being targeted by certain groups on the internet. It's not it's just all around. Everyone seems to be enjoying this. So I hope they keep up the momentum. I hope they keep moving. Like it feels like we're not. They haven't done any wheel spinning this entire show so far. Everything they've done, every episode made like significant moves for the story. And that's probably my favorite thing. It doesn't feel like it's wasting my time. So yeah, pretty awesome show. Can't wait for the next episode. And we'll see who the new hand is and how that marriage works out. And why did Daemon do what he did? Because now Daemon has been like, he's basically been told to go home. He almost got killed, but he's like, look, I don't know. You're not going to deny if you did that with my daughter or not, but get the hell out of here. Go home. You're not, you know what I mean? Like you were welcomed here for like one day, and now you're just a mess. Get out of here. So we'll see what happens with that. Was this all part of his plan? Did he mean for that to happen? Who knows? All right. I'll see you guys on the next episode.